So the next section here, I'm going to go over just a little bit about using LinkedIn. One of the things you're doing is if you're in a career and you need to move on to another location, which a lot of times that is what has to happen for people to get raises. That's just the way it is. Also, if you are a career changer and you're just starting to get into IT and cybersecurity, one of the best websites to use for this and that's kind of put yourself out there is LinkedIn. So I'm going to tell you some of the stuff that I've done with LinkedIn and just some of the stuff about using it to its best potential. One of the reasons why I bring this up, I've gotten more job requests, not job requests necessarily where I've been hired and someone's hired me, but billable work for the company that I work for now has come through LinkedIn. In fact, the majority of the extra work that I've ended up doing has come from LinkedIn. Because I knew somebody, and then you know somebody, and they know somebody, and all this kind of stuff. So it's very useful if you use it. However, I look at a lot of people's profiles, and they don't really leverage it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about leveraging it here. One thing that I think of when I take a look at it is when you first log into LinkedIn, there's a dashboard, and they always have some type of thing right up here that tells you, it says, tells you what you can do to improve your profile, like reconnect with your colleagues here is one of the things it says. And it basically looks at other people that have worked at the same place you have and tries to get you to connect up with them. Also on the right-hand side has things right here where it says people you know. So take a look at that. If you actually know the people, then connect with them. If you don't know them, you may not want to, right? Now, once you look at your profile, again, you're going to see things like this where it says that somebody has endorsed you for a skill or something like that. You notice here mine, it says, hey, these people have endorsed you, but you have 50 skills, and you're only allowed to have 50 skills, and you have to remove 3 of them to add these 3. There's only one bad thing about that, but usually in order to get these, you have to give them to other people. So if you know people, I recommend that you say, yes, they have that skill. I do not recommend that you say that somebody that you don't know has a skill that you don't know they have. I think that's a bad thing to do and a bad precedence to start. But generally, if I know the person and I know the person knows this stuff, I will definitely endorse them for what I know, especially if I've had experience with it. And then also look at your profile strength over here to the right. When you log at your profile in your edit mode or whatever, it's going to show you how strong your profile is. And that's basically saying how well you filled out and completed all the forms. The better off it is, again, if this is something that you're going to use to get work, you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. So everything in here should be professional, working it so that you're showing off all your good talents. So other things that you can also do, notifying people of your network. So if there's a change in something like your employment or you post something up, it will put a thing on the timeline, so to speak, to kind of put out there that you've done something new or whatever it is. If you have a work anniversary, I just had my 20th work anniversary for where I work at Mays and Associates, and it posted that up there, and then people see it and then they, comment on it. And I'll show you an example of that a little bit later. If you turn that off, then you start to fly underneath people's radars, right? And people don't see you. Now you have the ability to put things up like slides and documents that you've done. I recommend that you do that. Here's the big trick about this. This is a big, huge database, and it's a database of thousands of other people trying to get jobs as well. Now, not everybody's necessarily looking to get a job, but maybe they want to just get billable work or whatever it is. You're competing with every one of those other people. So maybe I shouldn't tell you all this stuff. Just kidding. I'll tell you. Anyways, so the more stuff that you have in there and the more information that you put in there, like putting these slides and stuff in there, they're very helpful because then all of that and all the wording that's in there, then when they look up something like cybersecurity, if I didn't have cybersecurity somewhere else in my job description, but I have it here, I'm going to show up in test search results. So again, trying to optimize this for search results as well is a big thing. So adding what you can, especially like if you've done presentations or YouTube, you can put YouTube videos up here and stuff like that. You just give it the link from the YouTube video, you put it in there, and then it automatically does the embedding for you. You don't have to do anything with it. Any of that kind of stuff that's professional, then I would put it on there. If it's not professional, don't do it. you got to keep this all above board. I wrote a newspaper, an article for security something, whatever ISC Squared's magazine is. I forgot what it's called. Anyways, I wrote a column for them, and so they gave me a PDF of the column. So I just took that and I posted that as one of those items. So I recommend putting stuff like that. Again, if somebody's looking for evaluate cloud service providers, my name's going to come up in the search results. Do you see what I'm saying when I'm saying that? So anytime you can put stuff on there, plus if somebody's looking and you were actively looking for stuff, I know a lot of trainers and stuff like that. If you're looking for gigs and stuff like that, definitely recommend putting in some of the examples of your work and stuff like that, because that kind of helps with that. Um, so yeah, adding those types of things. Here's how it looks when you have an employer or some place that you work for. Like I work at Coastline Community College, and I haven't added any media. Notice it says I can add a document, a photo, a link, a video, a presentation, whatever. Then you can click on it. If you make a presentation, it'll actually put it up in SlideShare for you, because now SlideShare is owned by LinkedIn, so it all kind of works together. But I definitely recommend that you put that in there. And again, when you put down your job description and all that stuff, it's going to be text that's searchable. So again, if you're looking for that job in cybersecurity, you need to say cybersecurity a lot of times, or whatever it is. And the key is also to know if somebody was looking for you or the job that you wanted to get, what would they be looking for? Right. So asking those types of questions, making sure that those words are in your profile, so that they show up. LinkedIn has an area for you to put your certifications in. Again, this becomes more searchable information. And because it's specifically under certifications, LinkedIn has the ability to do a search where you can say, I only want to find people that have CISSP certification, right? So that's what you want to make sure that you have all those. Now you'll notice here that when I get to my Microsoft stuff, I just have the Microsoft stuff just listed because I just have too many and it makes it look ridiculously long. But the security ones, the cybersecurity ones, those are where my bread and butter is. That's what my work is all about. I make sure that each one of those are listed individually because those are the ones that are important for me. Again, helping with the search. You may even want to put in expired ones because you have the ability to put the dates that you had it in. So if it's an expired certification, it may be worth putting in there as well. Now, if you're a Microsoft trainer, I would then definitely put in all the Microsoft stuff if that is what you're doing all the time. I didn't do it because my big thing is cybersecurity, so I did that. And besides, I think I have like 50 certifications, and it would just be ridiculous. Here's an example of the skills. You're limited to 50 skills, so you have to pick the ones you want very carefully. In order to get other people to endorse you, you need to endorse them. Once they've endorsed you, then they see you, and then people start endorsing each other back and forth. And if you're actively endorsing people, LinkedIn will put up at the top of your profile, it says, hey, these people have these skills. Click yes if they do, and then you say yes, and it gives them an endorsement for it. Typically, the more you endorse, the more likely other people will be to endorse you. And again, I do not recommend just endorsing anybody for anything. I look at the person that I'm doing, and if I don't know them, I do not endorse them for stuff. I may connect to them, and I'm a little picky about that too, but I'm not too picky about who I connect with, because again, the more people in my network, the more likely people will find me in their search results. So again, search results are all what it's all about. Education, make sure you put down your education. You want to fill it out properly. I've looked at a lot of people's profiles on here, and sometimes I just shake my head. They just say they went to this university. Okay, well, what did you study? If I'm going to hire somebody, and you're going to put your LinkedIn profile as something on your resume that somebody can see, because here's the thing with a resume, you can't put in 20 pages of stuff on your resume. That's what LinkedIn's for. So LinkedIn is the extended version. So you give them the truncated version, and in the truncated version, you say, here's my LinkedIn profile if you want more information. They click on it, then they can see all the other stuff. So that's where you want to put in your school you went to, what degree it was. Did you have any what was the dates that you did it? Were you a part of any societies, or what activities were you a part of? You can also list classes, and I'll show that a little bit later because that's kind of like under another part when you do the editing, but you can add them from here too. And again, also if you did a presentation or you wrote a dissertation or whatever, did a project for your MBA, you can add the Word document or PDF document to it as well. So if you wanted to advertise that there as well, that's helpful. Also, you can put your grades in there. You can put your GPA so that somebody who looks at it can see what your grade point average is if that's something that you think is desirable. Of course, if you have a really low one, you may not want to put it in there. I don't know. Here's an example of courses. Again, because I'm in cybersecurity and IT, actually under Los Madonnas, I took a lot more classes than this, but I only listed the IT classes that I took. I didn't list all the math and English and all those classes I took because they're not really relevant to what I want people to find me for. But every one of these, again, there's words in here, right? So there's a lot of MCSE 2003, which is completely irrelevant today, but not completely irrelevant, but although that's an old certification, that's a class that I took, and if somebody typed in for whatever reason MCSE, I'm going to show up in the results because there it's listed there, plus it's listed other places in my profile. And if I didn't have privacy written down in my thing, because one of the classes I took was privacy, now I'm in the search results, whereas before I wasn't. So listing the classes that you've taken is really important because it helps add more bulk, more text, more searchable text for your profile so you can find more. And again, I'd say limit it to relevant ones to your profession. And secondary type of things like project management and stuff like that, those would be good things to include in here as well. But I wouldn't get into basket weaving if that's what that's not going to help you get a job. So if you have any honors or awards, I always think of it as extra credit. It may or may not have any influence on whether you get a job or not. But if you have something, put it in there. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If it's specifically related to your profession, then it's really a good idea. Like you got Teacher of the Year award and you're an instructor. Well, that's a good award to have and to show. But if you get something like this one, recognition from California State Senate, well, that really has nothing to do with my job, but it may if I'm looking for a management position, maybe. But generally it's not going to hurt, but it may not help a whole lot. Depending upon the wording, again, could help you in your search results. Do you do any volunteer work? Definitely recommend if you do any volunteer work that you put that in there. It used to be called philanthropy, right? And it used to be a thing that people would always say, in your resume, always show that you're doing something extra because it shows the employer that you're willing to go above and beyond. You're willing to go out and help in other people's. And obviously here with mine, because a lot of it's related to veterans, it shows that I'm willing to help out veterans and stuff like that. May or may not help. But again, adding you into more search results. And they have extra information. They have additional information that you can add, and they have organizations that you can add. Again, I definitely recommend that you add any organizations related to your professional career. So, for example, obviously, I'm a member of ISACA because as a certified information system auditor, I'm automatically a member of that. But other things in ISC squared as a CISSP, I'm automatically a member of that. But other things outside of that that are good because one, their websites also help you with connections with other people because they have like things like LinkedIn or they have member directories and stuff like that. Like the Institute of Internal Auditors. For me as an auditor, although I'm not an internal auditor, it has a lot of good information. They have audit plans and audit guidelines. They have a lot of stuff on cybersecurity audit guidelines, which is useful just for me for that, but also for that because actually I deal with 3 or 4 other professional contacts that I have and I've done stuff with in the past have been internal auditors. So for me, being a member of that institute is very helpful. Because the bulk of my clients at Mays & Associates are cities or municipalities, districts, and stuff like that. Also joined the ICMA, which is the International City County Management Association. It's managers of cities and counties and other municipalities that joined that organization. And it's international, and they got a lot of good information about, how should cities use social media is one of the things that I had seen in there. Now, that was of an interest to me as an auditor who audits cities. That's kind of useful information to kind of know, what is that industry, cities, what are they doing with things like social media and stuff like that. So it's very useful in my career to be involved in those things. But in addition to that, also just being able to make connections in those areas. So the extra information, if you have any organizations that you're a part of, that's always a good thing. Recommendations. I definitely recommend that you do recommendations whenever you can. The reason for that is if you give a recommendation, then usually LinkedIn will say, hey, this person gave you a LinkedIn or gave you a recommendation. How would you like to give them a recommendation? And the more recommendations you have, the better off you are. Well, one, because some of those may actually play a part in the hiring decision, or not necessarily the hiring decision, but the decision of who to call in for an interview. One of the good things about this too, and even if you're just doing it, LinkedIn, not necessarily to find a new job, but because you have a job and you're looking for billable work or something like that, it's also useful to have these recommendations in there because when you have the recommendations, when people go by your profile, they say, hey, this is a real person, first of all, obviously, because look at all these other people endorse them. But you notice with LinkedIn, there's no way to get around, there's no anonymous ones. It puts the person's name who is actually making, so they're kind of like on the hook, and so are you when you make a recommendation for somebody. You're kind of on the hook for that. So again, these are things I wouldn't give out lightly. If it's people you know and you know that they can do those things, then I'd make the recommendation. As an instructor, I've oftentimes been asked by students, hey, can you give me a recommendation because I'm looking for a job? One thing I've noticed, when you go to apply for jobs and stuff like that, a lot of times they would tell you they only want you to fill out the application in a one-page resume. Don't submit anything else. My wife has applied at a couple different places, and they won't take letters of recommendation if you have them. But here's the way you can get around that. If you have them on LinkedIn, in other words, if you get the recommendation on LinkedIn, then on your resume you can have a link that takes them to LinkedIn. So although in the hiring process they won't allow you to put in a letter of recommendation, but on your resume you have LinkedIn, and if they click on it, then they can see recommendations. Plus they go with you. You don't have to worry about, did I lose that one? Who did it? They're a lot easier to manage and stuff like that. I have a bunch of written recommendations that I had from a long time ago, probably not really relevant today, but it's really useful when you have them on LinkedIn because you don't have to worry about them, don't have to manage them. They're just there. And again, this helps give your profile a bump up, right? So more likely to be seen. LinkedIn has groups. Joining groups can help your career path. Click on things or join groups that are related to you. Again, there's another limitation here. You're limited to 50. You can't join more than 50 groups. And if you did, I don't know how you'd keep track of everything. So pick them wisely. Look for groups that have more activity, because I've seen I had 50 groups, and I went and looked in it the other day because there was another group I wanted to join in on. And when I went to log into it, it wouldn't let me go into it because I had 50. So I went back and looked at all the groups that I was in, and I found out, there's a bunch of groups in here that have no activity in them. So what good is it for me to actually be a part of this? So I decided I'm just going to cancel some of the memberships to those groups because nobody's doing anything, and what's the point? So taking a look at that. Other thing is getting involved in group discussions that are on those groups. So here's an example of a cybersecurity as a business issue, and I forget what the name of this group is, but they're very active and they're always posting stuff, and I learn a lot of information sometimes from them because they'll go find blogs that talk about certain things. But also it's a way for you to be involved and get to know other people. I've actually met people on LinkedIn that are now friends of mine that we now do work together and stuff like that because we were engaged in a group on LinkedIn. So definitely think it's a good thing to do. And I hesitate that I think that I shouldn't have to say this, but because I see some stuff on LinkedIn, I think I do, and that is you got to keep it all professional. This is a professional site, and you should always keep it professional. What you did at a party last weekend is probably not appropriate for LinkedIn. Probably don't want to put it on Facebook either. But anyways, all right, interact, keeping in touch with other people. So there are people in your network, people that you're connected to. You'll see pop-ups that say they've had a work anniversary or something like that. It's always, and LinkedIn will give you the option to, say congratulations or something. Definitely think it's worth doing. Again, keeping it professional, but putting in stuff like that if there's a notification, or if a friend of yours posts something that you found useful, you have the ability to like it. At least that gives them some feedback that that whatever you posted was useful information. For example, like when I was getting ready for this class, I posted that on LinkedIn, just saying, hey, that this is the thing I'm going to do, and it also gives you an ability to keep track of how many people actually viewed it, how many people commented on it. And you can see that it'll be on the sidebar in LinkedIn when you're on the dashboard, and it lists all the activity underneath it. To the right, you'll see stuff like this, like who viewed your updates. And then if you share something new, it keeps track of that. It tells how many people are closely related to you and how many people are extended related to you. So it gives you that ability. Again, I would keep it all professional, but also people can find stuff. One of the people that I ran into, he's like he's a cybersecurity professional, but he's a CISO for a city in Southern California. Interesting thing, I ran across his profile, because he was posting very interesting security articles that were very useful for me. And so when I ended up following him, just because he was putting actually good information out there. Other stuff that you can look at, how many connections you have, how many people in your network, groups that you might like. It looks at the groups you have and groups that friends of yours have. It also suggests some companies that you may want to follow based upon your career and what other people are following that are following the same things that you are. So LinkedIn does try to give you a lot of hints for stuff. So take a look at those things. Like the groups, again, don't be afraid to leave a group and join another group or whatever it is in order for you to get the best out of it that you possibly can. Other thing also, if you see somebody in their profile, they say LION, L-I-O-N. That stands for LinkedIn Open Networking, or network, or whatever it is. And it's people that have agreed that if you will connect to them, that they will automatically connect back to you. So basically what they're saying is, connect to me no matter what. Now LinkedIn, normally if you find somebody, you just can't just link to them. You have to know them, or you have to be introduced to them by somebody that you both know. So you can't just say, hey, I want to add this person to my network. You actually have to have some knowledge of them, or have their email address as proof that you know them. And then it sends them an email, and then they have to accept it, obviously. But if you see a LION, then usually somewhere in their profile, they've put their email address that you can use. Or if you are clicking on them, you can also say, I know this person and then it'll give a list of all the places you've worked. You select one and you send it off, and then anyone that has LION will generally always connect with you, just as a thing. Now, a lot of people try to connect to me, and I don't always connect with everybody that connects to me. If they're in security or whatever it is, I'll connect with them if they look like it's a real profile and it's not, and there's a possibility of maybe in the future needing their services, or wherever they work for their services. Sometimes I'll connect with that. I connect with all my students who want to. I recommend they connect on LinkedIn and not Facebook and stuff like that. So, and so all this adds up. So when you take a look at this, this is from 2012, but it says, hey, you had the top 5% viewed LinkedIn profiles for the year 2012. They have 200 plus million members, and in 2012 mine was the most viewed. Well, because I just went through and I showed you kind of how it is, and I filled out as much as I possibly could in my profile. There's like one or two other things that you can add in, but any of those other things, and when you add that in, you become more searchable, and because you're more searchable, more people view you. And in a very competitive job market, you want to be able to be found quickly. And so, in order to be found quickly, you want to make sure that you have a very clean profile and you cover enough information and use all the terms that are necessary for people that are going to be searching for the type of person that you are, the job that you're looking for. And if you do that, you can get, top 5%. That means 95% of the other people weren't being as viewed as much as I was. And it's not hard to tell. If you look at a lot of people's profiles, they don't have a lot there. In fact, I looked at one person. He sent me a link, and he says, hey, maybe we can do some business together. I went to one of your presentations, and I said, okay, I'll link with him. I looked at his profile, and he's only got 4 years of job history. The guy's got to be like he's got to be in his 50s or whatever it is. And he's only got 4 years of work history, and I'm like, what has he done all his life? He's got to be in like his 50s, and he's only showing 4 years of what he's done. That's the only thing that's on his profile. So he probably just set it up because somebody linked to him, and he says, oh, I'll put in my stuff. He hasn't put anything else in. So when I look at that, now if I was hiring the guy, I probably would not put him at the top of the list, because I'd be like, okay, what has this guy done for all these years? Did he work at Taco Bell the whole time? You know, I'm sure they have IT people at Taco Bell, but I was talking more of being a server. If you're going to hire somebody from IT, you want to know that they have a track record and all that kind of stuff. I get connections all the time from people in weird countries like Iran or something like that. I usually don't connect to them. Every once in a while, somebody who's in cybersecurity who is in India, I may connect to. Because I've actually found that a lot of those people are also in some of the same groups that I am. Anyways, you don't have to connect to people if you don't want to, but the more people you connect to, the more stuff you can get. So, is there any questions? And by the way, if you want to sign up for upcoming events 2 weeks from now, or not next week, but the week after, first week of March, we're going to do an intro session to the risk management framework, which is what NIST uses. It's the NIST security standards. But other than that, and if you want to look at our website that we've kind of set up, I'm going to be one of the trainers. Some of the other trainers are on here today as guests, but they may be teaching other topics in the future. If you go to our Trainers Underground, which should be trainersunderground.com, although I just set it up, and I don't know if the DNS is propagated yet, so it may not work. But if you go to trainersunderground.com in the next few days, you should be able to get to it. Their information will be listed, and any of the sessions that they do will be then, you can click on their name and see the sessions that they do in the past. But as ones come up in the future, if you go to our Eventbrite page, you can then see them. So is there any questions on this, or anybody want to add anything?
The only thing I'd want to add there, Donald, is just to reiterate that if you're going to use LinkedIn, use a professional photo. Don't have a Facebook photo of you holding up a can of beer or a mud crab or something like that. So many people put in a request to connect with me, and I look at their photo, and I go, you're dressed in a singlet, and you're holding up a can of beer, and you're wanting me to connect professionally? No.
Yeah, I noticed one the other day that someone wanted me, and it was obviously, I thought it was spam when I first saw it, because it was a young lady that wanted to connect, and it was like some kind of made-up sounding place, and but it was like one of those pictures that almost looks like, like it's definitely going to be spam. You know what I mean? Like one of those doctored up pictures. Yeah. So no, those ones I don't connect with either.
Yeah. And people have got to realise it's a professional organisation, not a Facebook friends type organisation. So that's about the only thing I want to say. Other than that, I just want to say thank you so much for running the event today, mate. It's been really great. And as much as I hate to love you and leave you, I've got to race off now because 9 o'clock Saturday morning and I've got lots of things to do. So thank you again, Donald, for doing it, mate.
Thanks, Wayne.